Welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of The Real Estate Guys with Century 21 Frank Frye Real Estate. I'm Phil Frye, along with my dad, Frank Frye, and our special guest today, Bryan Long. Bryan is a top agent with our company. He's also the 2025 Licking County Board of Realtors Realtor of the Year. He was a top producing agent for Century 21 in the nation last year. He was in the top 25. He was #1 in the state. In addition to that, he has been a licensed agent since 2019. He has been Licking County Recorder for 25 years, and also he does a lot of things in our community, including being the baseball coach for the JV team at Newark High School. We got a lot of things to cover today, so Bryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Phil.
So 2019, right before COVID, the real estate market is booming, and we know that real estate has been in your family for a long time. Your mom, Pam, was a top agent for a lot of years, and she spent some time with our company and some other companies. When did you first know that you wanted to get into real estate?
I don't know that I knew I wanted to, but it was always interesting. And Mom had told me, go back a ways. When I was a younger kid, I would go help her put signs out. I would go sit at a open house with her. I would just do things like that. So just being around it, maybe teenage years, I kind of like, this is kind of fun. Maybe I should try it. But I didn't. Did other things. Got my insurance license when I was 20 or something like that, 21, because of my family history with the insurance agency locally. So. But did that for a number of years, then ran for recorder, and I think obviously I was there for almost 18 years before I got my license. But Mom told me a long time ago, she goes, you should do that, you'd be really good at it, and I think you'd enjoy it. And I'm like, really? And I just didn't do it. It was probably not a good time when the kids were younger because of the schedule that realtors have, and it's pretty much get a call and go. But once the kids were older, and of course Mom passed in 2013, so almost 12 years ago, and someone here at the table kind of asked me that question: have you ever thought about being a real estate agent?
Late one night,
yes. And I said, yes, I have. And I didn't do it right away. I think maybe it was about 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So probably about 2018. I started taking courses with Hondros and was working part-time as well at AutoZone at the time. So I'd come home at night, do classes for a couple hours, crash at about midnight or 1 o'clock, and then go to work in the morning. So, but did that for a few months and got through all the classes and took my test. And I think it was in April of 19.
So your first year, you've grown up knowing about real estate. You know the yard signs. You know what it goes into, pricing a home, pictures. Just from watching your mom do it. Same way I learned watching Dad do it. What did you think about that first year that you're actually a licensed agent doing it for yourself?
I didn't know what I was doing. It was really weird. It's like I thought I knew what I was doing, and then I would just kind of zone out, and I'm like, what should I do? And it's weird because then I kind of thought back to, I don't know, talking to other agents or talking to you and then figuring out a few things, and then it started to click. I'm like, oh, now what my mom used to say, it all makes sense, and then it just kind of clicked. Mm-hmm. So, the signs are the easy part, or the open house is the easy part, but it's the contract and the wording, and then trying, to figure out down payment and what you're going to ask for in an offer, or what you're going to give up as a seller. So things like that I just had to learn really quick and on the fly. So.
And then a year later, COVID hits.
Yep.
What was going through your mind for that? I mean, we were in a very busy market, 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
COVID comes in 2020. None of us know what to expect.
Well, I was showing a home on Sunday afternoon, the day that, at the exact same time that the governor was giving his address on shutting the state down, and made the announcement that, you know, things were going to shut down either later that day or the next day, and restaurants had to shut down. And I remember being at the open, or not an open house, but just the showing, and going, what's this mean for real estate? You know, what's going to happen? And the younger couple I was showing the house to said, can we see the house tomorrow we're supposed to see? And I go, I don't know, let me figure that out. And luckily the state looked at real estate as an important you know, profession and needed to stay open so that, you know, business could transact in the state. So luckily it didn't seem to affect real estate that much, other than a lot of requests for seeing a house where please wear your mask, you know, just make sure you're not touching a whole lot of things in the house. And it was a little different, but you know, we got through it. So
I remember sitting home on a Friday night and we're going through all of this and figuring out what we need to do, and it was how many masks can we order online?
Yeah.
How many cleaners can we order for the office? Should we order gloves, you know, the plastic gloves? Should we order body suits, you know, hand sanitizer? It was whatever we could get online, and of course every place was in short supply, so it was truly get what you can so we can still effectively do our jobs. And then just like you said, the buyers didn't slow down.
no.
And I knew we were going to be okay when Cindy Layton had a property that was priced reasonably for first-time home buyers, and I think she had 25 showings within the first few days, and that was right at the start of COVID. So we knew right away that buyers weren't going to slow down. That was still their market.
Yep, things kept moving. So I ended up getting that young couple in a house on East Main Street. So.
All right. So when we talk about being a real estate agent, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and you know, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort. You're very involved with your family, you're very involved with church, you're very involved in the community. How do you balance all of it and make it all work?
A lot of late nights. So, my grandparents, I mentioned that earlier about the insurance agency. They had Pipes Insurance Agency for years. My great grandpa started it, and my grandparents, they would go to work and work nights until midnight. I mean, go home back in the office by 9 a.m. So just seeing the work ethic that my grandpa and my family put into, you know, business, I don't know, I just have to be doing something. So whether that's sitting at home, if the Reds are on TV, I can still do something else and keep working. So, but no, a lot of late nights.
Yeah, same here. I think
busy
all
all
of
the
us are
time.
that way.
Yep.
And I know Dad was the same way too. So in 2024, you had a record year. You know, one of the best years we've ever seen come through, not only this office but also for Licking County. And it involved a property out on Thornwood Drive, and over 200 acres, over 225 acres. Purchase price over $32 million. This sale set up for you being all of a sudden in the top 25 for Century 21 agents nationwide. At one time you were number 2 because it happened closer to the beginning of the year, and then you were number 5 for a long time, and at the end of the year it settled to be number 22 in the nation. But you were also number 1 for the state of Ohio for Century 21, number 1 here locally. What can you tell us about that deal? What can you tell us that, you know, what all went into that deal?
Wow. It's kind of fortunate. I mean, it was right place, right time in a way. It was property owned by a family member, and so it just kind of worked out. But yeah, a large company came by, wanted to buy it, and I reached out to the owner first, and then I got involved in a lot of negotiating back and forth with, you know, commercial brokerage that was representing the buyer, and there were a lot of things we asked for. Since they didn't really want to sell it, we just asked for everything we could ask for, and just, you know, threw a lot of requests at them just to see what they would how bad they wanted to land. And it worked out, so.
And this was all farmland, a
Yep.
few houses and a few buildings, but the company's Microsoft
Yep.
that purchased it. And what exactly do they eventually want to do with the land?
Data center is what they want to put on it, which has subsequently been kind of put on hold, so it's being farmed again this year. So the farmer who'd been farming it for years is back out on the property farming it this year. So I'm not quite sure. I don't know if their funding fell through, and there's a lot going on with the federal government right now. So I'm not sure if some of the cuts that came through cut the funding that they were anticipating for that project. But
How long would you say you worked on that from start to finish?
it was probably close to a year. And most of it in the beginning was, we had a non-disclosure agreement, so we couldn't talk about it. You know, I could share with you some things, but it was not in dot loop really for the most part. It was not in the MLS as a listed property. It was just quietly negotiated between two parties, so.
And even when you and I would talk about it, it was still, you weren't saying Microsoft yet. You were telling me one of the bigger companies.
Yeah.
So I would just start guessing company names and see if I could get a facial reaction from you.
Yep. We weren't allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Couldn't say who it
makes
was.
sense, yeah.
Yep.
So you have that gigantic sale that leads to some other big sales too, and all of a sudden maybe you go back to selling a regular house in the city of Newark. I mean, what was that like, transitioning from, you know, one of the biggest deals of a lifetime to back to regular business?
It seemed kind of odd to go back to a house and just sell a smaller house, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So you know, someday maybe another deal like that will come through, but I don't know. I said that a couple years ago because I had a larger sale of, how many acres was that? I don't know, it was about a $2 million sale, but, and I remember thinking, oh, I'll never have another sale like that again, and lo and behold, 2 years later. So, no, that year though, in 24, I think I had a total of 14 or 15 sales.
Okay, he's 16.
16?
Yeah.
Okay. But I had a listing on Cherry Valley Road that was kind of a unique home that sold. They needed a condo, so I was searching for a condo for them. Also sold another condo. I sold a third condo, I believe, in that same area where they bought. It just ended up, you know, a couple of the sales, like you said, were kind of an offshoot of the bigger land sale, because they were like a 1031 reinvestment. But there were 2 or 3 deals before that that were already in the works that were just, you know, a home, a condo, and all those things closed, I believe, in right around April, May. I mean, it was a busy 2-3 month stretch when they all kind of hit at the same time.
One of my favorite things about that year, last year, was not only was it an amazing sale, an amazing year for you, and Century 21 rewarded you with one of their top sales awards, but that sales award is also based on your excellent customer service, your quality customer service. So that was a combination of not only sales, but quality service, and to me that means the world. And that completely describes you, not only as an agent, but also as a person.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and that's why we're so glad to have you with our company.
Yep.
Dad, it's time for your mystery question to ask Bryan. What would you like to know?
Well, Bryan, since you had that sale, how much does it change your life?
Ooh. Probably a lot. We moved since then, so that kind of that helped out. You know, we had our daughter move back home with us, and we kind of felt like we needed a little bigger house, so we bought another house and working towards selling our other one. So that's all been recent, but probably wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have sold that. So that was one thing that made it easier to jump on buying a house.
I understand that.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you got to experience the buying side of real estate firsthand last year.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about interest rates are higher than they have been in the last few years. Some would say they're back to normal. Some would say they're still high. But what's your best advice when you're working with a buyer, whether they're a first-time home buyer or an experienced buyer? What do you try to do to make them at ease in this market?
Just tell them we're going to find something. I mean, we will. It may take a while, but we're going to find something. Buyers, I love working with buyers because you can find out what they want and then go on a search and try to find it for them. And most of the time with Zillow and Realtor.com, they're sending me listings that they're seeing before I even see them half the time. And kind of the downside of that is sometimes it's not as easy to see on those listings if it's in contingent or in contract already. And I'll have some people send me 2 or 3 and I'll go, well, that's already contingent. Well, how do you know that? Well, the MLS said it was. So it's, sometimes those sites cause you more work because then you're tracking down to see if it's even in, an active listing still. And sometimes it's not, so. But I would say, the biggest thing is just be patient. Get pre-approved so that you know what you're approved for, and then put a game plan together. I try to work that out with them now. I've learned that through the last 5-6 years. Just because knowing where they're coming from and what they're approved for, you know what kind of deal you can put together and how aggressive you could be.
Gather a bunch of information, kind of know the scenarios, and how it might play out, know your strategy for negotiating.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're seeing right now buyers competing against other buyers again, which for a while wasn't happening when the market slowed down. So that also means that sellers may have a little bit of advantage. For people wanting to list their property for sale, what's your best advice for them right now in this market?
Hopefully they have a ranch, because that's going to be worth a lot more. Just do as much as you can to get it ready for listing. Clean it up, do the little things. I can't tell you some of the ones that you go into to show that it just has not really been finished to the point where it should have been listed yet. And, or maybe they were starting to, redo a room or 2, and they do 2 or 3 things and it wasn't completed yet. I don't know why they list it when it's not done yet, because, I don't know, a lot of people go in, they see it, and they're like, well, they didn't even finish. And it just, to me, get it ready and make sure it's ready to list it before you list it.
Leave nothing for chance.
Yes.
Yeah. Cover everything.
Yeah.
You got licensed in 2019. You've been able to accomplish quite a bit in a short amount of time. What is it about real estate that keeps you coming back for more?
It is awesome. So the best thing is just the people you work with. Knowing what they want, working for them, because it's a service business, service industry. I mean, we are working with a buyer or a seller, or both, and trying to do the best that you can do for them on both sides of the deal. So, if my client's the seller, I'm trying to maximize what they're going to get out of the home. If they're the buyer, I'm trying to get the best deal that they can get. And that's the fun thing, is kind of working the deal, working on their behalf, just guiding them, giving them knowledge that I've gained over the few years, and probably longer than that with watching my mom. But
right.
Yeah, so it's just fun to help people. That's the biggest thing.
And how do you feel about, what was it about our company, Century 21 Frank Frye and Century 21 Corporate, that made you want to not only join us but stay with us?
My mom. I think she started with Weesty was the first place she was at,
Yeah.
and I think they merged with Caldwell Banker at some point, so she was there for a short bit, and then she came here, and she just always told me, she goes, it just felt like home, felt like family, and I don't know, I'd rather have that smaller office feel, and not that we're that small, but you know, we're all family, we all help each other out, and it just, you know, I don't know that I'd want to be anywhere else. So.
And I can only imagine how proud your mom is of you, and of course your dad and your family, just everything that you've become, not only as an adult, but you know, everything that you've been able to accomplish.
I'd say quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. And you know, you and I met each other back when we were 13 years old, playing for Tech Center baseball team at the local Babe Ruth. And when you think about it, that was quite a long time ago.
Couple years.
Couple years, yeah. And we both have a love for baseball. We've been able to share that love in conversations, a few games, things like that. And so we'll talk a little bit about that more, but we're now at the time for the mystery question, where you get to ask us the question of your choice.
Okay. I'll go more serious on this one with you. So what made you start the brokerage? What were your, let's see, how did I word that?
Oh, did you bring your own questions?
I did, I jotted a few things down. I forgot. Hold on, I can't read. Something else that's happened over the years. What motivated you to start the brokerage, and what's kept you hooked on real estate over the years?
Okay, good question. I was already in the industry that serviced people, that was the funeral business. And how it relates to real estate, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it's still, you're dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
And you were always thinking of what's best for them. So once I decided that real estate might be the thing I wanted to do, that's what I tried to concentrate on, was making people feel that you're doing the best you could.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the way it works every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have that attitude also, and Phil does too.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody that's successful in this business usually will use it. They're helping people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much it.
And it all started with you and that philosophy back in 1977.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here we are
And
today.
it goes fast.
Yep. Yes, it does.
Yeah. Watch out.
For my question for you, so going
Okay.
back to baseball, I'm a big Cubs fan, you're a big Reds fan. I've got my favorite Reds players of all time, of course, Johnny Bench. He's really my number one.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a few Reds favorite teams. This is going to be a multi-layered question, but we'll start with, what is your favorite Reds team of all time? It could be before we were born.
I would say 1990, because they went wire to wire.
Special year.
Yep, and I think they were predicted to finish third or something like that, and that was back when it was East and West. They were in the West. I think they were predicted to finish like third or fourth. They weren't even really given much credit going into the season.
Who was the coach then?
Lou Piniella.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, a lot of that lineup was what they had come up with under Pete as manager, because I think it was, when did he, was it 88, I think?
I want to
He
say
had
88, yeah.
He got thrown out of baseball.
Yeah. Has to leave.
Yeah, just asked, calmly. Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of that team was kind of built under Pete. But I don't know that Pete would have had the same success with him. I mean, Lou was a different kind of person. So that was a fun team to watch. There weren't a lot of home run hitters. It was just really good defense. They had good pitching. And then they had a lot of base hits. And of course, growing up, my grandpa used to tell me a base hit's as good as a home run. What are you talking about? You don't score on a base hit. But I knew what he meant. Just get people on, move them over, get them in, and so. But that was a fun team to watch.
And then who would be your all-time favorite Reds player?
Oh wow.
Wayne Krenchicki,
That's
Gary Reedus.
Growing up, I liked, and he was gone before '90, but he was there I think in '88. Cal Daniels,
Oh yeah.
who ended up going to the Dodgers, and he was really good, but he had bad knees.
Yeah.
Cal Daniels, Nick Kasaski, he was gone by then too. I like Nick because I think he wore 12, and at one point I ended up with 12, so same number. And he played third when he came up and first, and I played the corner infield position. So overall, I think probably my favorite Red is Pete Rose.
That's a good call.
Yeah, I mean it growing up it was Johnny Bench because I liked catcher, and then I wore 5 for a while, so there was a reason why I picked 5. But it always kind of switched. But I think overall it's probably Pete, just because of his work ethic and
Charlie Hustle.
giving it all out.
Yeah.
You know, even on a walk.
Yeah.
But it's funny. There was also number 5 that played third base, and I think I was 6 years old. My dad, for business, had to go to Kansas City, and we went and watched the Kansas City Royals game.
Oh wow.
And I saw George Brett.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's number 5. This is awesome. And he plays third base. And so he was always a favorite, just because, you know, went to Kansas City and saw a game and saw him and just always liked him. I didn't really necessarily like the Royals, but, you know.
I think it's fair to say that George Brett and Pete Rose kind of define the hard-nosed players from the early 80s. And they had a lot of success because they played so hard and just so consistent. And how many opening days for the Reds would you say you've attended?
Wow. Maybe 10. 8 maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know the first one I went to, I skipped school, so if there are any teachers still around from the high school from that spring of '90, I skipped school and went to opening day.
How many years did it snow on opening day?
The year after we got back to baseball after COVID, I had layers on and went down, and I think they only sold a certain number of seats because COVID was still kind of going on. It was 31 degrees that day, and it was spitting snow. And 25 degrees at a Bengals game is totally okay. But 31 degrees at a baseball game, you think you're freezing to death. I don't know what the difference is, because I've been to a Bengals game at 20 degrees, and it's fine. But same city, just, you know, stadiums are by each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it's sunny and it's supposed to be baseball weather, it's not supposed to be 30-some degrees. So, but yeah, that was just 22 probably, 21 maybe, when it was that cold. The past few years has been better, but I did not go this year. We had a baseball game, unfortunately, so we were playing Heath that day.
Will you
In
be
a
coaching
scrimmage.
baseball this summer, or are you taking a break?
No, I do not coach summer.
Okay.
Just coach for the high school. So.
Okay. All right. Bryan, thank you so much for not only being an agent with our office and our company family, but thank you for being our guest today.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Good.
And I didn't ask you a question.
Oh yeah, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why the Cubs?
Great question. Great question. I'll make it as short as possible. The Reds. I grew up a Reds fan. You know, I'm really too young to fully remember the 75, 76 World Series, but I knew all about the Big Red Machine, huge Johnny Bench fan. Loved the Reds, but they were no longer on TV.
Yep.
And here in Central Ohio, the Cubs come on WGN on the cable package.
Yep.
So all of a sudden I could watch the Cubs like every day, every game back then. The year's 1984, the Cubs have a wonderful team. They have Wrigley Field in the daytime. I fall in love with the team. Ryan Sandberg becomes my favorite player over an aging Johnny Bench. I tell this story a lot though with my light complexion. I don't go out a lot during the day, during the summer. You won't find me at the pool, but you will find me inside and in the AC, and I could watch the Cubs like every single day. So I just fell in love with them.
Yep.
And it kind of came, once you fall in love with the Cubs in Wrigley Field, it's tough to shake that habit. But the funny thing about it is, you know, if I would have just stuck with the Reds a little bit longer, that 1990 World Series would have meant a whole lot more.
Yeah.
I had to wait till 2016 for that chance.
That's true.
So yeah, that's it. And now the Reds are on TV more than the Cubs too.
Yeah.
So I have to pay to watch the Cubs. So yeah, karma kind of came around for me.
We were, where we lived with my mom and dad, we were 900 feet out of the city limits, so we couldn't get cable.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a reason.
So
to
we
move.
had 4, 6, and 10. 6 never came in that well, so that's why we might have had it. But,
Yeah.
I think 28 you could maybe get on a good day, and they used to cover Reds games once in a while. But,
Yeah.
So I would get off the school bus at my grandparents' house, which was a quarter-mile away, but they were in the city limits, so they had cable. So I'd get off the bus, and the Cubs didn't have lights yet, so they were all afternoon games, like you said, when they were home. So I'd watch the Cubs, and then usually on TBS they had the Braves.
Yeah.
So I would watch both, and I just remember the Braves games having like, I don't know, maybe 5,000 people in the stands, but it looked like 200 because they were spread out so far.
The Braves were
And
incredibly boring
they were
back then.
horrible.
And their announcers were boring too. And going back to the Cubs, you had Harry Carey and Steve Stone, and
Yeah.
I fell in love with them too.
Yeah.
So that was really entertainment.
Yeah, they were fun to watch.
Yeah.
Very entertaining. And then the Reds weren't on TV as much, but Marty and Joe.
Yeah,
And
and
I love listening to baseball.
listening to Marty and
Yeah.
Joe is the best. I mean, I hands down my favorite broadcasting duo.
Yep.
All right, good memories,
So-
good memories. Baseball and real estate in the summertime.
Good.
Well, thank you for being our guest today, and the Real Estate Guys is brought to you by Century 21 Frank Frye Real Estate. We are located in downtown Newark on East Church Street, and you can reach us by phone at 740-345-4001. You can find us online at C21 Frank Frye. And special thanks to our friend Casey Claxon for recording our episode today. And you can reach Casey with Claxon Custom Printing and Promotions. You can contact Casey for all of your promotional needs. Thanks for joining the Real Estate Guys.